G'day, good day to you, and how the bloody hell are you? It is CrackAFruity, and I have failed yet again to bring you a party mode for this video, which I always like to do, but I promise I'll try harder next week to bring you a gunmaster or a scavenger or something like that. But in the meantime, what I do have for you here is a game of Rush. Now it is a game where the other team were a little bit silly, and they all kept standing in the same spot trying to attack. So I kind of went and stood in the same spot as well and made them look a little bit foolish. But anyway, none of that matters, of course, because what does matter is the fact that it's Friday, and that can only mean one thing.
It is time for Drunken Story. It is time for Drunken Story.
Yes, and today's Drunken Story comes to you from a work colleague of mine. So just to set the scene, basically, he was about 18 and he'd gone away on a Kentucky tour. Now, if you're not sure what that is, basically, you go to Europe when you're young and silly. I mean, you can go when you're old, but generally, it's the people that are around about 18, 19. They're young, they're silly, they want to go and get drunk and have fun with other like-minded people. You go over to Europe, you get this Kentucky tour, which is a big bus tour that drives you around a whole bunch of countries in Europe, and basically you get drunk the entire time. Well, he was reminiscing about probably the drunkest he's ever been, the biggest night he's ever had, and it was in Holland. Now, those of you who aren't aware, marijuana is legal in Holland, or at least in Amsterdam anyway, which is where this story takes place. Now, I know it is also now legal in some parts of America and that sort of thing, but at the time, at least for him, this is a pretty big deal. So he said he was out, he was on the terps, or he was drinking heavily, and he got really drunk, as you can imagine. He had copious amounts of marijuana. He smoked a heap. He ate the hash cookies. He had all the other delicacies and treats they had full of marijuana. And essentially, he said he was as drunk as he has ever been, and will probably ever be again, or drunk, or stoned, or whatever he was. He was off the planet, no longer part of this world that we all share. So, during a move that he describes as being an absolute lady-killing, professional-looking dance move, and, you know, why would I believe otherwise? He has managed to step on a stubby or a bottle of some sort and hurt his foot. I don't know if he rolled his ankle or he did something. And anyway, he wasn't too fussed by it. I mean, again, he wasn't really with us anymore at this point. So he carried on dancing and running around and doing huge treks all through Amsterdam while he was in this state on his foot. And this was all fine until the following morning when he woke up in what he describes as the most excruciating pain and the most painful experience of his entire life. So it turns out, of course, that he's actually broken his foot, but he doesn't know that at this stage. But I need to tell you that because you have to understand the pain that this guy is actually going through. So he's woken up, first of all, you've got the foot. I've already described the foot. He's got a broken foot. So it is huge. It is swollen, it is fat, it is black. And after he's broken his foot, obviously he's done the dancing and the running and everything else. So I don't know if anyone has ever broken a bone before, or a foot, or sprained an ankle, something like that. But obviously it's a very, very painful thing. But it's not just the foot. What you've got to remember is this guy was so insanely drunk that he has woken up with a hangover to end all hangovers. I mean, this is a biblical hangover. It is huge. He's basically got no fluid in his body whatsoever. His mouth feels like a possum has crawled in it and died. He can't taste anything. His head feels like it's going to explode. His foot is swollen. He distinctively remembers, and I couldn't help but laugh at the guy, because he said he crawled on all fours to the shower in his room. Bear in mind, he was staying in there by himself, so he had no one to give him sympathy, you know, in this other country. But he crawled his way to the shower, got in the shower, and he was sitting there just with the water running over his head, on cold. He was sitting down obviously because he couldn't stand up. And he said he just remembers he was in there throwing up, pushing the chunks down the plug hole with his fingers, just sobbing to himself, just crying because he was in this life-ending pain. He was convinced that this was the last day of his life. He had done everything he was going to do. And I couldn't help but laugh at the poor guy, as horrible as it would have been. But yeah, so I guess if you're going to take a tip away from this, guys, if you're going to go to a foreign country without some sort of support network, a good friend, a close friend, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever, don't get too messy. I mean, it's probably also a good campaign for don't drink too much, don't smoke weed, or don't smoke a lot of weed. Anyway, I can't actually remember what country he said he was driving through the following day on the bus, but he basically completely missed it. So he needed to get the coordinator or the bus driver or whoever it was that was running it, had to get him to help him down from his room onto the bus, and he basically sat there and just, you know, between vomiting, slept, and they went through an entire country the next day, and he missed all of it. I can't remember which country it was, obviously one pretty close next door to Holland, but yeah, he didn't remember the country at all. So yeah, there was a lot of downsides to this life-ending night, as he calls it. Well, that draws to a close yet another drunken story. Now, this isn't my first drunken story, it is, I believe, my fifth. So I've got 4 others. Make sure you go and check those out. I'll put some annotations up on the screen. Please go and give them a click. And if you've enjoyed this video, a like really helps me out a lot. Also hit subscribe if you're new around here, of course. Anyway, that does bring this one to a close. So thanks again for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And I'll talk to you next time.